Hello, everyone, and welcome to another awesome segment of BU Live. Of course, with me today, I'm excited because I have the owner and CEO of TT360. And of course, BU's live mission is to provide relevant, thought provoking, insightful information about life and ways to unlock and become fully ourselves, to embrace being you. So, tonight, our guest embarked on her own personal and powerful journey of unlocking herself, as she would say, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. So, today, my guest panelist is Miss Stephanie Wilson, whose goal is to help women live their best lives in their best bodies. So, Stephanie, hello, lady. How are you?
Hello, beautiful. I am well. Hello to everybody. Hope everybody is well that is listening.
Yes, yes. Actually found me on Facebook, and that's how we connected. She's here in Houston, and I've been here now for it's going on 5 years. And so
Okay.
I don't know a lot of people. And so when Stephanie reached out, I was like, of course, I'm so open to meet new people because I'm such a people person. So I was excited about us being able to connect. We had great conversations. She's such a kindred spirit and is passionate about the work that she does. And I'm definitely confident that what she does, a lot of women need to
Mm.
hear her story because she has a hell, ladies. Yes. So diving right in. So
Yes.
you had this journey that you went
Mm.
through. And I
Mhm.
want to really dive right in and talk about, can you tell us what triggered your life altering journey? And what was your journey?
Okay. Well, the trigger was my midlife crisis in 2015. I was 36 because I'm 41 now. So I was 36. And up until that point, I was, the pastor's kid. I had, my kids. And, I had a very fruitful life, making six figures at Chevron, driving a Tahoe. I mean, I four-bedroom house. Listen, I was living
Living
the
the
dream.
dream.
I was living the dream. And then the spirit was like, "Well, it's time for you to learn some shit." So, um, oh wait, can you let me know if you it's profanity because
Yeah,
I'll try to
go.
refrain it.
Yeah,
Okay.
just you good. Go ahead.
Okay. So 2015 was my midlife crisis. I literally on a Wednesday got laid off. By Friday, the guy that I was dating 2.5 years, who I thought I was going to marry, looked at me in my face at my kitchen table and said, "I hope you have a 401k because I cannot take care of you."
Mm.
And so that Saturday morning, I woke up very empty, very alone. And for the first time, I I sunk into depression and I knew I was depressed. It wasn't the first time I had been laid off, but it was the first time it hit me because it was the first time I got laid off, lost the boyfriend, everything is on the line, you everything is on the line. You're like, okay, am I gonna get put out of my house? Am I gonna lose my truck? It's all of these things that start to happen. So that was the first time that that I can remember emotionally, psychologically, just checking out.
I definitely have to ask because I know there's so many of us right now amidst COVID. It's I'm so over it. I'm sure everyone is, but a lot of people are going through that with losing their jobs, and
Mhm.
then what you said about losing your boyfriend and him not stepping up to the plate,
Nope.
which shame on him for
Okay.
not stepping up to the plate. So I want to ask, what with your journey,
Mhm.
tell us about, because you told me this awesome story about you having your aha moment. Can
Mhm.
you tell everyone what your journey was and what was your aha moment after you went through, the trauma of
Mhm.
losing your job, of
Mhm.
not really knowing what direction to go? Add that on, at
Mhm.
the time, there was health things that was there.
Yep. Yep.
So
So
tell us about that.
in addition to, once I started on that trajectory, that's when the depression set in. And so that's when weight began to be an issue, a really big issue for me. And my heaviest, I was 292 pounds. and I'm 5'4". So 292 pounds on a 5'4" frame. I was miserable. I was in physical pain. I hated myself. I was depressed. I wasn't productive. And I literally remember walking by the mirror one day, and I can literally, the mirror that I still have is that $99 IKEA mirror from that leans up against the wall. Everybody got one. I passed by that sucker and I was like, who the hell is that? And I literally went cold turkey. I went downstairs because I'm still in the old house at this point. I went downstairs, cleaned out my pantry, cleaned out my refrigerator, $1,200 worth of food, went to the store and bought grilled chicken, veggies, all healthy food. And that started my weight loss journey of 2.5 years. And so that was the weight loss trigger. And then the spiritual trigger, well, the emotional, the midlife crisis started the emotional trigger. That's when I was in depression, went to therapy. Then I dealt with the weight loss. I just was like, we're not being fat no more. And then the spiritual trigger was when my father passed away a few months ago in July. When he passed away, it's almost as if it was like the last straw. I don't know if I shared with you when we were speaking privately, but that's really how I felt. I felt like, okay, it can't get no worse than this. There's no bottom. There's nothing under here. Um, so because I've lost my job again. So lost my job in 2015. Here we come all the way through this. My dad dies in July. We talking about this year, y'all. We talking about in the
The
Bible.
2020.
20 and 20. I was actually recovering from surgery when the pandemic hit. So July 3rd, my dad dies. August 3rd, I lose my job again. And so at this point, I'm just like, what do you have to lose? And who the hell are you? Like, who are you? And so my father dying is what did the last piece of what my formula is. And so that's what just took the cape off. And I began seeking the truth about what I believe and why I believe it.
That is so good. So I want to go back and unpack a couple of things, because now we are starting to hear a lot about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the African American community, it was a faux pas.
Yes,
It
it
was, we
still
live by
is.
it is. I think that we're making more headway, but it
Yes,
is a slow moving
it's
bus.
slow boogie. Slow
Slow moving.
boogie.
Because especially as Black women, we're taught, be strong, don't show no weakness, suck it up, God got this, you gonna be okay, he'll never put more on you than you can bear, which is true. However, it gets to that, like you said, that breaking point where it's
Yep.
like, look, i
I,
can't
I can't
i
take it's
i
yeah,
can't
I need a
take
break.
i can't take no more,
I can't
right?
breathe. I cannot
And
breathe.
so what was your what allowed you to really just kind of release and finally go to therapy? Because there's a lot of people that don't.
Um, when I realized that this was maybe about 3 months after the original breakup, like in 2015, it took me about 3 months of just pajamas, not getting up, not taking showers. And mind you, my children were still at home. So, when your children start asking you, Mama, you okay? Like, are you getting up today? Is today gonna be another pajama day? Like literally, my son would come home and he would be like, Mama, you didn't take no shower again today. Come on, we got to take a shower. This what we gonna eat? Because I wasn't cooking, I wasn't doing anything, and I don't think my family and friends knew how bad it was because I was such a master at what wearing masks because that's what we're taught as women. Like you just said, you never let anybody see you sweat. And
Mm-hmm.
and and so I had taught my kids, don't you say nothing, don't you tell nobody about what's going
What
on.
happens in this house stays in
Stays in
this
this
house.
house. So they would be
Yes.
terrified. They wouldn't say anything. And here we are. I'm in a full blown depression, and it was manic depression. So there were bouts of mania. I don't know if you've ever experienced manic depression, but it is like the little sister of bipolar.
Mhm.
disorder.
Mhm.
Follow It's just like that. It's bouts of mania followed by severe bouts of depression.
Mhm.
The only difference is that it's a start and a finish, and it's more like it's a type of depression. It's not a full-blown mental health issue like bipolarism. So that's what it was. It was a combination of my children, and I just realized that unless I did something that wasn't biblical, I would stay where I was.
Mm.
I knew that the answers weren't in the Bible because I know the Bible backwards and forwards. And so at that particular time, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, were just words on a page because here I was with nothing from my
Mhm.
perspective at that time.
Yes. I think that is so huge because a lot of us have been there,
Mm-hmm.
but carry the fear of people knowing that you don't have it together
That's
because
right.
I've been there. And
Yep.
it's it's like, okay, I had, when you have commitments to be somewhere or do something, you jump up and it's like, okay, let me fix myself, get myself
Yep.
together so people don't know that I'm crumbling on the inside. And then it's like you pull on that super strength, go out into the world, save the world, and then you come back and just crumble again.
But it's
And
not super strength. It's not super strength. And that's one of the things, but that's one of the reasons why I do this work and why I'm
Mhm.
so committed to this work and why I'm so committed to the truth. Because the truth of the matter is it's not strength. It's a bunch of BS and it's just another mask. It's not
Yes, you
strength. It's
yes.
pride. It's
Hmm.
ego. It's not strength. It's not
Hmm.
strength at all because strength is standing in your truth, whether you on top of the mountain or whether you
Or in
dragging through Death Valley.
yes.
So, and that's why I'm so committed to this work because once you can find the truth of who the hell you are and why you believe and what you stand for and why you stand for those things, you'll be amazed. The weight will fall off, the emotional healing will happen, the spiritual clarity will happen. You just have to be honest enough with yourself because
Hmm.
life is about you. It's really about you and the journey that you take. Even the people that you choose, your spouse, your friends, even the things that are chosen that you get to choose, it should be based on the truth of who you are.
That is look, you said something right there because
Mm-hmm.
that is huge. And I think that sometimes we're so accustomed to living up to other people's standard.
Say
And the
it.
reason why I use the term strength is that we always hear be a strong Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth of the matter, when you're in those ultimate strength is saying, you know what, y'all, I'm not okay.
Yeah, I'm not
I'm not
okay.
okay.
And I will
But
not be showing up today. I'm going to
exactly.
see Dr. T. I will be on somebody's couch. Call me on Tuesday. But we're not
Right.
gonna do that. But we're not gonna
We're
do that.
not. We're not. We'll go and get made up and go out and play the game and then
And
come
fake
back
it.
home and feel completely and utterly emotionally, physically, and spiritually drained because you're forcing yourself to do something that you
Mhm.
can't handle at that moment.
No, you're forcing yourself to be someone that you're not.
Yes. 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 So I want to go back because you also mentioned in the midst of all of this losing your dad
Yes.
and how that triggered the spiritual
Mhm.
awakening side of you.
Yes.
And for those that don't know, Miss Stephanie is a PK. So that's a entirely different element. But I know, like
Yes.
for me, I lost my brother due to homicide
Mhm.
some years ago, and that was one of the triggers in my journey with even my company being called BU because
Mhm.
it really showed me how precious life is.
Yes, ma'am.
We don't sometimes don't realize that it can be gone just like that, and to live it in a lie and not fully
Mm.
embrace being ourselves is just misery.
Yep.
So with losing your father and it creating the spiritual awakening for you, how
Mhm.
do you feel as though the the legacy that he left behind for you to be able to embrace this new side of you?
Hmm. Well, it's interesting because as you were talking, Spirit was literally, it was really literally playing it back in my head. And it's all about perspective. So every time I've had a trigger, I've had a what? What preceded the trigger? A death, a form of death.
Mm-hmm.
Before I had the emotional breakdown, it was the loss of a relationship and a
And a
job.
job.
Before I
Before I.
had the physical breakdown, it was the aftermath of the same thing, of the trauma of the loss. The
Mm-hmm.
spiritual trigger was the loss of my father. So I think the legacy that he left, he believed so strongly in his faith that he was unshakable.
Mm.
The scripture that says, "Be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the works of the Lord." My father breathed that every day. But he also left room for your own interpretation and your own experience of what it is you believe. So
Mm.
he was quite an interesting man, because for him to be in his 80s and a baby boomer, because baby boomers are very rigid people. They're not emotional people. They go to work. They're gonna go to work at AT&T for 50 years. They not no entrepreneurs. They work for the light company, HL&P.
Give me my pension.
Get my pension, those were my parents. So for him to be such a rigid guy, he still made room for us to believe what we wanted to believe. It didn't change what he believed. And he was also big enough that when something that he believed either shifted or shape shifted for him, he was honest enough to say, well, at one point I thought this, but now my spirituality has evolved. So even in his rigidness, there was still room for growth. And that's what I think allowed me to really just take the veil off and just really look in the mirror and say, okay, now, why do you wear weave?
Mm.
Who does that serve? And is that how you want to show up, or is that how the church expects you to show up?
Mm-hmm.
Because your daddy don't care. Your daddy never cared how you look. He just wanted you to be you. So it's interesting that him dying is what forced me to really look, because he lived every ounce of his life on his convictions. And
Mm.
so you ask about legacy, that's the legacy. Whatever life you're going to live it with every ounce of who you are, so that you don't have any results, so that you don't have any regrets.
Regrets. Yes.
So
Yes.
that's his legacy. He didn't have a lot of money. He didn't leave riches. He didn't leave, cars and stuff. But thank you for asking me that question, because just as you asked it, I was able to answer it. He left the legacy of his truth. And that, I think, is subconsciously what allowed me to discover what my truth is and understand that it's okay. And it 99% will probably not be what his truth was. And that's okay too.
Yes, that is incredible, and that speaks volumes of the man that your father was. And of course,
Yep.
I never met him, didn't know him, but I
Mm-hmm.
do know that air of, especially being a black man,
Yes.
and just like you said, it's a box.
Yep. It's one
Don't
way.
don't right. Don't think you have to find a crack in this box. This box is sealed. But the
No.
fact that he could even say what I used to believe
Yep.
is may not be what it is today. And that part right there,
Mm-hmm.
when we can strip down our minds into what we may think are absolutes and begin to realize that there is so much more out
So
there,
much more.
that's when we truly really find ourselves. Like I have this thing I always say, TSL:
Mm-hmm.
try something, see something, learn something, because there's always something new. So try something new, see something new, learn something new. That, like,
I like that.
those are things that I always stand by, because there's so much to this world that is outside of, look, our neighborhood. There, this right
That's
here is
right.
the creation of our neighborhood. There's so much outside of it. But one of the
Yep.
things I definitely want to ask are, with everything that you said, who are three people have been the most influential in your life?
Hmm. It depends on the life that I used to live or the life that I'm creating now.
I would say the one that you're creating now, because this one you're creating now
Yes.
is your authenticity.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
we want to know the authenticity of it all.
Awesome. So one of my heroes is actually my spiritual coach, the program that I'm in, Society. Her name is Dr. Erin, and she is the first real introduction into expanded consciousness that has gravitated to me, or that I've gravitated to. Several people have preached it, several people have spoken about it. Even, people in my expanded circle, but she's the first woman that has said, no, I have a program that I'm going to teach you in bite size how to understand the science of the mind and how to translate what you already believe and then expand that even further to explore other possibilities. So Dr. Erin is definitely one. Another one is Bishop Carlton Pearson, because um, when he had his fall from grace, as we like to say it, which I just think is some bull. But when he recognized that the emotionalism of Pentecostalism was not the same as living truth, and he came into expanded consciousness, the way the church castrated him, it once I started to ask my question, why are you a Christian? And we use the word Christian because that's the word that was the issue for me. And when I began to delve into that, or why are we Pentecostal? Why are we AME? Or why is all that? That's the person that I started listening to. So he comes on every Monday at 8:30. So every Monday at 8:30, I'm in front of my computer just like this. So he's because he's, Black, because he comes from Black church leadership, and unless you've been a leader in a Black church, it's just a totally different beast. And people don't understand. CCM, they ain't got nothing on. Ain't got nothing on Black church. I'm telling you. Y'all
Yeah.
ain't got nothing on Black church. I don't care whether you Pentecostal, whether you Baptist, but if your leadership is Black, that's a whole nother situation. It's a whole nother situation. But so Carlton Pearson, so I have two very opposing mentors. I have Dr. Erin, who is a Caucasian woman who has no spiritual background, in terms of she didn't come from Christianity or Muslim or Mormonism or a big religion. She just had a she just came from life, and she's been doing this work for 25 years. Then you
Wow.
have Bishop Pearson, who's literally been doing ministry 46 years, and the last 10 of those years has been in New Thought. So you have somebody who literally was at the top of the Black church, had his own fall from grace, and is now rebuilding his truth. So I
Mhm.
have a female that I can connect with, and I have a male that can teach me from a paradigm that I come from, because
Mhm.
not everything I'm going to be able, there's some stuff that is just intrinsically built into me that I don't care how much trauma work I do, I'm probably never going to stop believing in Jesus. How he takes form in my life may
Mhm.
change, and what his role in the grand scheme of things may change, but I don't think I'll ever walk away from the path of Jesus. I,
Mhm.
I, I doubt that very seriously, because my father just instilled it so deeply into my being. So that would be two. I don't have a third one. Those are the two that I have right now, and I'm just kind of sticking. If it would be a third one, it would probably be me, like just my higher self, and really connecting with the higher version of myself, or the spiritual or the divine version of myself, listening to her, um, and embracing that intuition that I was born with. So those will be my three.
I think that's good. I think that one of the things, and you and I had spoke about this offline, is with the pandemic, is God trying to get our attention to
Mm-hmm.
connect directly with Him, because
Yep.
there are, like you said, those medians there that have not allowed us to fully connect to His Spirit the way
Yep.
that He wants us to. So I think that is huge. But I also want to ask you, what makes you feel inspired in like the best version of yourself?
Mhm. So what makes me feel inspired is when I am living out my truth and when I can stand on what I believe, but not only stand on what I believe, but when I can inspire others to live their truth. By looking at me, you get the power to do one brave thing, as small as it may be, that speaks to your truth. And it could be something as small as posting a picture with you drinking a glass of wine. Um, but you laughing, but some people
Oh,
have
that,
heart
no,
attacks.
that's why I'm laughing. That is why I'm
People have,
laughing.
I'm talking about be
Inside.
trying to stage the picture. And I'm like, man, just snap this picture. Nobody don't care if you're drinking tequila because they're probably drinking Jack Daniels at home. Stop letting these people control how you live your life and what parts of your life you show. It's interesting because when you were talking about, I can't remember what you were saying about 30 minutes, but I had went somewhere spiritually. And it's almost as if the spirit said to me, sin is perceptive. And some people, the truth is what people perceive. It's not necessarily the truth, it's the perception of it, is what people build their lives around.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what if one of the propositions is what if sin is simply not living your truth?
Mm.
What
Wow.
if the greatest sin would be to have a life given to you and you not live it based on your truth?
That's huge because look, the first thing that I thought about when you said that was I thought about the gifts and the
Mm-hmm.
burying of the gifts. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what life is are you going to multiply this or are you going to bury it? Because it's wasteful for
Yep.
God to breathe life in something and then to not live it. That is just one of the worst. Like I've read these articles multiple
Yep.
times
Mm-hmm.
about when you interview someone in their latter ages, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the number one thing that they say that they regret in life is the risk that they did not take.
Yep. Because you can't. Time is the only thing that you cannot get back. Once it is
Cannot.
gone, it is gone. And so, what if that's the greatest sin? Or what if that's sin in its entirety? Because to be honest with you, and this is what you learn when you come into subconscious work, everything has a positive charge and a negative charge. Some things have a super power positive, some things have a super negative. I'll give you an example. Murder. What does that bring up to you? That's a super negative charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Super
Mm-hmm.
negative charge. Marriage, super positive charge.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what you believe and where you stand, same sex marriage. You understand what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the truth that you live, that could either be a super positive or super negative charge. But it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that it's a sin.
Mm-hmm.
It just means that culture has defined what charges we give to things, what emotion, what command we put on things. And so part of expanded consciousness is reprogramming what you put good and negative charges to. That's the simplest form of the kind of truth that I'm seeking. It has really nothing to do with religion, and it's more about how I view the world in totality, in
Yes.
addition to spiritually. But it's what is the truth of it? What is the truth of what I'm feeling? And these emotions that I've attached to it, is it because it's how I truly feel, or is it because it's how I was taught to feel?
There's that is interesting. There's a I cannot think of it, but there's this author that he talks about stripping away what you were taught and realize and understanding, is this who you are or something that was ingrained in you? And I think about it, not even going to like the spiritual level, just
Yeah.
even going back to what you said, your journey in weight loss, for example.
Yeah.
And because I know we talked offline and you talked about, food was the addiction For
Yeah.
us, a lot of African American women, when it comes to food, it becomes our comfort.
Yep.
We learned how to cook at a young age. We know how to take different ingredients and put them together and make it a gourmet meal. That's part
Yeah.
of what we do. And so we were taught food as a passion
Mm-hmm.
versus food as a source of life.
That's
And I
right.
think that right there is one of the things that if we can unteach ourselves the
That's right.
relationship with it, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us would be way more healthier and
Mm-hmm.
be in better everything. Because I told you my journey. Like I had the gastric sleeve. It's been about 7 years ago. In
Mm-hmm.
hindsight, I would have did the bypass at the time and just been over with it. However, that was my journey,
Okay.
because lupus runs in my family.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having rheumatoid issues and all of this. And like you said, when you carry the weight on you, it's not just physical, it's mental,
Whew.
emotional. It's just weighty.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things I want to ask, going back to that part, because I'm sure there's someone that's listening that's like,
Mm-hmm.
man, she lost all that weight. How did she
Mm-hmm.
do it? So I want to ask you, what do you feel like was, when you hit those wall days, like, man, I really want to eat that today, or I don't feel like working out today. What was your driving factors to get you from point A to where you are today?
There are questions that I would ask myself, and one of the questions I would always ask myself is eating this, is consuming this, is drinking this, is being a part of this going to help you gain or lose what it is you're going after?
Mm,
And if the answer was that I would lose the weight, then I would do it. If the answer was I would gain the weight, then I wouldn't do it. I would also journal, and there were a lot of different things that I would do, but most of the weight loss journey, and this is where trainers and and those types of experts will probably disagree with me, because they want you to spend $200 an hour for a trainer. But I have clients and I have my own story to back this up. It's about the spirit and your emotion for women, specifically African American women. Let me go back to something that you said. You said that we were taught to cook at an early age. I
mhm.
invite you to think about it even deeper. Every celebration had what in it?
Food,
Every funeral had what in it?
food,
Every vacation had what wrapped around it?
it's the food,
When you went to church, what did you do in between services?
the food.
Everything in
Life
our
major
life
life event. Mhm.
revolved around food.
Mhm.
Why is that? Because the baby boomers' parents, who were cotton pickers, that is family time. That was the only time that massa would allow them to congregate. So food became a way of community. It became a way of family. And so when you translate that down, but you don't transfer the hard labor of picking cotton. So you
Mm,
transfer the tradition, but you don't have the labor that kept them skinny. You see what I'm
mm.
saying?
They
So the
kept them
tradition gets passed down, but they didn't equate that the reason why they weren't getting fat is because they were being slave driven to death. They didn't. So when we got freed, we kept eating, but we left off the workout part. We left off the physical part because that was slavery. So one of the things that I teach in my program, inside of my community, is I just teach people very small nuggets, very daily things that you do so that over time you build your subconscious muscle, because that's really what it is. I've lost 157 pounds, but I've also kept that weight off. And it's not because I restrict myself from food, it's because I've changed my relationship with food. And that happened here and here. It happened in my mind and it happened in my spirit.
Mhm.
Because now that I'm living my truth, the truth of it is that you don't need a whole Whopper. You don't need a Whopper. You can get a Whopper Junior. Think about this. No, no, no. Think about this in a real way. The Whopper Junior is the exact same burger
It is on a
at the
smaller
on
scale.
a smaller scale at the correct portion. But
Mm-hmm.
because we have a culture that propagates more, bigger, more, better,
Mm-hmm.
we take enlarge your territory and we take it to the extreme. That ain't what that meant. Jabez was not talking about enlarge your stomach. That is not the prayer of Jabez. That's not that. You taking
Mm-hmm.
that scripture out of context, mother. Come on back. But because we live in a culture of you can have what you want, you can have as much of it as you want. We don't know how to use filters. We don't know how to use restriction. We don't know how to use the protective measures that were put in place for us to help us because of what? Ego. Because we want more, we want bigger. It's just always about more, 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 more. And so the relationship with food gets off kilter. And so the only way to get back on kilter, I told you this in a private, and this is one of my sayings. I could teach a dog how to eat right for 21 days.
Mm-hmm.
I can teach anybody. Anybody can juice for 7 days. But after the juicing, you going right back to an environment where y'all wake up in the morning eating Shipley's. Then y'all go to Burger King for lunch. Then for dinner, y'all sliding through the turkey leg hut. Then on Sundays, y'all going to Big Mama house and she cooking pork bones, oxtails, yams, rice, peas, and ain't nobody going to no gym and ain't nobody walking.
Mm-hmm.
So I can teach you how to eat right and you could do it. And I mean, you can nail it, but the environment you live in is so unhealthy. Then on
Mm-hmm.
top of y'all not eating right, the marriage is failing. Then on top of the marriage failing, the children are disrespectful. Then on top of that, so we have to deal with all of these issues to get not only the physical weight, but the emotional and the spiritual weight. So what worked for me was really, and this is before I came into truth. This was before I came into the truth lane. So this is just me looking at food and really having a conversation with myself. Now, is this gonna make you fat or skinny?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then making the decisions. Because even to know something is not the same as to do something. So you got to have the strength to do the action once you come into the knowledge. So
That
there's a lot of moving parts, and I know you know a lot of trainers are not going to agree with me, but I'm ready for the debates because I know what I know.
But I don't even see how anyone could disagree in that because essentially so I also do performance coaching. And so the biggest part of performance coaching, whether it's with semi-professional, professional athletes, high school athletes, any type of person that wants to perform, everything starts here. It starts here. Yeah, you can teach me to do these workouts. My body can get conditioned. I could eat out of little containers this big. But
Mm-hmm.
unless you have a made up mind, and like you said, unless you're dealing with all your crap, guess what? You're gonna go back to what makes you feel good. And that would be the food. It's your comfort. So unless you fix this, you're gonna keep relapsing. It's just like a crackhead that you stop doing drugs, but then man, I had a stressful day. All right, I'm gonna go up in this house. I ain't gonna smoke it, but I smell it. Next thing you know, guess what? You smoking crack again because you're back in that environment and you haven't done with the psychological trauma. So that is so
Which
huge.
is why the name of my program is Own Your Shit. That is why the name of my program is Own Your Shit, sis. Because until you own your psychological issues, your environmental issues, your childhood trauma, the negative coping mechanisms, the codependency, until you deal with that, you can eat grass every day of your life for the rest of your life. you will
Mhm.
still be a miserable being.
Yes, yes. And it's definitely about the holistic you,
Yeah.
because we're not just one piece.
No.
We're multi-dimensional for
Yes, we
sure.
are. Yes, we
Yes.
are.
So I want to ask, look, a crazy question. If you could turn back the time and talk to your 18-year-old self,
Ooh, 18.
18-year-old self,
Jeez.
what would you tell her?
Oh my God. I would tell her at 18, I would tell her, listen to your mother.
Mm,
I would tell her, oh, let love come to you. Don't chase love.
mm,
I tell her, everything that's for you will never miss you. So you don't have to chase anything. No person, no thing, no job, no status, no money, nothing. Because what is for you, your cornucopia, is your cornucopia. It's yours. And so you don't need to be anybody other than who you are. And you will
mm.
attract what is divinely designed for you. That is what I would tell my younger self.
Yes, look, that's good stuff. Yes. So, what are some of the things? So, I have this thing, and I know because we're getting ready to wrap up. So, I have this thing, and look, where's she at? So, I have this very dear friend of me. That's she's the author. She has a
Okay.
publishing company, and her
Mhm.
thing is like every woman, of course, has superpowers. We do because we fly like that, right? And
Yep.
so I have, and I think I share this about every week. So I have, for me, my thing is bees. So she bought me this little bee lady. So this is my super bee. And I
Oh,
keep her close because when you don't went down and you writing and doing all this stuff was work. It's like, all right, gotta, put my superwoman on. So I want to
yeah.
ask you, what are some of the things that you do to tap into your inner superwoman?
Hmm. One of the newest things I do is I read oracle cards. I know you can see them behind me. That's a few of them behind me. I have probably about 100 decks by now. But that's one of the things that I do. I also do worship. My piano is right behind me. So I do a lot of live worship. I do a lot of journaling. And I do a lot of, I talk to myself a lot. And I used to think that people who talk to themselves were crazy, but they probably were conscious. There's a
Hmm.
difference. So they probably were really having conversations with their higher selves. And so that's what I mean when I say I talk to myself a lot. I talk to the intuitive side of Stephanie. I talk to the higher version of Stephanie, the divine version of Stephanie, the version of Stephanie that I don't know because she's been suppressed for so long because I've been out here being super Christian, super saved. I've been out here, not posting no photos with no drink and ooh, girl, you can't say no cuss word, girl. Not no more. I I went from, and like on my new site, when I get ready to build my site, I tell you what it's gonna say. It's gonna say from a super conservative, saved Christian PK to a Oracle card slinging, cussing, drinking, spiritual badass. So that's what it is because that's who I am. And 90% of the people that are in leadership, Mika, that's who they are. You want to know how I know? Because I go to dinner with these people. I go to these people's birthday parties that ain't nowhere on social media. That's off in the cut or on a ranch somewhere down in Angleton, Texas. Because it's finna be and all other kind of. But then they get up on Sunday talking about the word of the Lord.
Mm.
Where was the word of the Lord on Friday when you was twerking? So why is it okay? And then you want to get up in the pulpit and you want to beat the people up for doing the same thing you're doing. But we don't discredit your anointing. We don't discredit your gifts because God gave
Mhm.
you the gifts even in your imperfection. So why do you feel the need to justify imperfections or subdue them in
Mm-hmm.
order to have your anointing, because you've been screwing people on the side and preaching for 15 years and you still have your anointing. People are
Mm,
still being delivered and you're still screwing your mistress.
mm,
So you can be a whole sinner and still have the anointing. And that's the truth that people, that's the conversation that people don't want to have. But that's the
mm,
conversation that I'm bringing to the front. Not
mm,
calling anybody name, not calling anybody out, but it is time for us to rise up and really know the essence of God and teach that and teach people how to find God their own way
yes, yes, yes. Well,
with their imperfections, because they are imperfect, but they're perfectly flawed.
mm-hmm,
Everything is perfection. Even the valleys are perfection. Because what is perfection? Perfection is maturity.
mm-hmm,
So everything is perfection because everything is a lesson. Everything is, you develop a skill, you get your muscles together. Everything is a lesson. So everything in your life is perfection. But
mm.
we've been taught that perfection is attached to deed
And an
and
act.
to and an
Yes,
act,
an
but it's
act.
not. Perfection is a way of being. It is a state of life. And
Mm-hmm,
so that is what I am challenging people to come out of the box of religion and come
mm-hmm.
into the knowing of consciousness.
The relationship, for sure. So, look, as we get ready to kind of wrap up things, how can our listeners connect with you, and what services are you currently providing? Because I know with COVID that kind of
Yes.
changed some things. So, what is Stephanie currently up to, and how can people connect with you?
I'm super excited. I just launched TT360 Society, which is a community that I'm creating, a safe space for women to come and transform and discover their truth. I focus on three areas. I teach spiritual clarity and fulfillment. I teach emotional and trauma healing. And then I also do weight loss. So I'm going to teach you how to lose some weight, but I'm much more concerned with the person you're becoming and less concerned with, if you got a 24, 36, 24. So, but one of the things that I didn't have when I started my journey was a safe place to grow, a safe
Mm,
place to express myself without judgment, because there's so much judgment in religion, so much judgment. And so I want to give people a place where they can really be themselves, even if it's only for a few minutes a day. And I'm going to teach them all three. I'm going to teach them exactly what I did to get where I am. You do have to make a commitment, but we're going to break the commitments up in chunks. So the society is only $33 a month. That's it. For daily content, live group coaching, live workouts. I mean, it's a very intense, but it's little nuggets that you do every day. And over time, you become a better version of you. So the minimum commitment is 3 months, but it really takes about a year for you to really, really get it and see results and then maintain the results. A big part of what I offer is the maintenance of it. Who wants to just do the work only to have to redo the work again? No,
right,
we're
right.
not doing that. We're doing the work one time and then we're going to maintain what we've achieved. And so
Yes,
that's really what I'm offering. I've moved completely online because of COVID, because I want to be safe and I want my clients to be safe. And if it was one thing that I've learned that COVID has taught me, I don't know if it's taught you this, but I don't need a building to make an impact.
yeah, that is true. Yes,
All I need
yes.
is a camera, a microphone, and some
Hmm.
Wi-Fi.
Yes, that is very, very true.
So
And
you can go
it's
to TT360 Society. Let me say this because I be forgetting. People be like, you didn't even
look,
say your
that was
website.
gonna be my next
Because I
question.
don't never
Yes.
say it. I don't never say it. I guess I just expect people to figure it out, which is dumb. So you can just go to TT360society.com. TT360 The word society, SOCIETY.com. And that is where you can see everything that I have. You can see the courses. Oh, you're so sweet. You can see the courses that I have coming up. You can see what we got going on, and you can get everything that you need. But that is what I am doing. That is what Spirit is leading me to do. When I ran this by my coach, because every coach has a coach. And let me just
Yeah.
put a plug in, ladies. If you're watching this and your leader don't have leaders, and your
Mm.
leader don't have a coach, and your leader don't have a pastor or a bishop or a worthy priest, you need to follow somebody else. So my coach, my therapist, because yes, I still go to therapy. I told her what I was going to be doing, and she was like, "Oh, so you're gonna be charging them the same thing I charge you?" And I was like, "No, no, no, no. That's not what Spirit said." When I told her that price, she was like, "Let me get a drink. You're gonna be doing what? And all they gotta pay is what?" She was like, "Do I need to pull up your invoices?" I said, "No, thank you very much. I know exactly how much I pay you an hour. I don't need to be reminded. Matter of fact, my session is up." So
I don't need no over.
what I'm literally doing, I'm literally taking what I've learned in therapy, what I've learned in my spiritual practice, what I've learned from my personal trainer. My personal trainer is not even charging me to do workouts. He's letting me record my live workouts that I pay him for my community for free.
Oh wow, that is awesome.
So I don't have to pay him. So since I don't have to, the people that God has given me are so amazing. They just want my tribe to win too. And so
Mm.
all of the thousands of dollars that I've invested, I'm passing it on to my people for, 30 something dollars a month.
That's great stuff. So everybody, you can see, look, TT360society.com is
Yeah.
is available. Tune in and connect, because I know one of the things, like I said, when Stephanie reached out to me, look, it's funny because we we she saw me on Facebook and saw my hair. And so that was one of the first initial, and I think we may be having some technical. There we go. That was one of the initial connections. There we go, was the hair. And because she was on her journey, at first she was still wearing, her braids and everything. Right. And so I told her, I was like, hair was my former life. But we still wind up connecting, and I got to learn more about her and what she does. And I think it is incredible, because I'm all about emotional and mental health and the physical side, because I've been on that journey for myself, and still take that drive. Of course, still. So
Yes.
look, I'll be reaching out, checking out the society too.
Yay, come on.
But I'm glad that you were able to join me this evening and tell
Thank
us your
you.
powerful journey. I
Thank
know
you.
that there's someone out there that was listening that is going to be encouraged by your words and will help them learn their journey of finding their truth, because all of us have our journey that we have to take to find our own authentic selves. So again, don't forget to check out TT360society.com, Miss Stephanie Wilson.
Yes.
And again, thank you for joining me today on another awesome show of Be You Live. Remember, no matter what you do, always to be you.
I love it.